Welcome back to the deep dive. If you were with us last time, we really took that bird's eye view of this huge architectural vision.
Right, the old J.C. Penney building in San Pedro.
Exactly. And how it's being transformed into, well, what the founders are calling the digital heartbeat of the city. We talked about the scale, the steel, the structure.
Yeah. And that context was, it was absolutely essential to sort of establish the container, the physical space.
Right.
But today we're going deeper. We're not just looking at renovation plans. We're opening the chest to reveal the heart of the entire operation.
Right.
Our whole mission for this deep dive is to really synthesize the core why. The deep, almost existential pain that the founders, Edwin Duterte and Jennifer Wolfe, are trying to solve.
And how they plan to solve it.
And crucially, yes, dissecting the unique dual leadership model they designed specifically to build this sanctuary and actually make it work.
Okay, let's unpack this right away.
Yeah.
Because the source material is interesting. It doesn't start with blueprints or, balance sheets.
Not at all.
It starts with a feeling, a really visceral concept that I think anyone who's ever tried to run a small business or a solo project will just, they'll get it immediately. They call it the silent scream of the solo entrepreneur.
And that phrasing is so effective, it just bypasses all the typical business speak, all the statistics, and it goes right for the emotional core.
Right to the gut.
Yeah. They don't talk about market failure rates. They talk about the feeling of personal failure. They ask you, the listener, to remember what 3.0 a.m. feels like.
Yeah.
Not when you're celebrating a win, but when you're just sitting there alone with your accounts or your unsold inventory. It's that profound silence,
The moment where the self-doubt is just screaming in your ear.
That's it. It's the loudest thing in the room.
And it's that suffocating weight. I mean, we are told constantly that to succeed, you need the hustle. It's like the gospel of modern work.
It is.
But the founders, they argue that for the person doing it all alone, that whole mantra is actually, it's destructive. They describe it as feeling like grinding your bones against a millstone.
That's such a powerful image. It's not sustainable. It's painful. And most importantly, it's a deeply, deeply isolating grind.
And that's where the identity crisis they talk about really kicks in.
Yes. The entrepreneur is forced to become this fractured person. You're not just running your business. You're the CEO, and you're also the janitor. You're the accountant, and you're the content creator.
You're your own therapist.
You're your own therapist, exactly. And that fracturing, they argue, isn't just a side effect of working hard. It's the actual mechanism that kills the dream.
And all that fear gets amplified by just the sheer volume of the digital world. You're supposed to make content, scream into the void of social media, just try to get seen.
Only to have the algorithm basically shrug and look the other way.
Yeah, that's what the sources capture so well. This terrifying possibility of erasure. You've worked so hard, you've sacrificed your identity, you've burned through your savings, and you could still just vanish.
Oof. Without a trace.
And the founders say it very explicitly. That kind of profound, deep isolation is where the small business dream usually dies.
What's so fascinating to me here, and what the sources really stress, is that their first step wasn't to solve the financial problem.
Right.
They focused on solving the crisis of identity, of mental health, and of connection. They frame the problem as being fundamentally an emotional one.
Which needs a solution that's way more than just, a co-working space with good coffee.
Way more.
So if that painful isolation is the enemy, how do they build the antidote? Let's shift from the screen to the solution, the Donn Allan Experience. It's introduced as the antidote to that isolation.
And I love this phrase, a harbor built specifically to hold you. So the physical space itself, the building they're renovating, it's designed to serve a really profound psychological function. They aren't just renovating a building, they're constructing a safety net.
And they systematically replace the pain points.
Systematically. It's very intentional.
I mean, I love that emphasis on replacement. They say, for instance, that the crushing overhead is replaced by a shared canopy.
And that's a financial mechanism, of course, but you immediately get the psychological relief it suggests, right?
Absolutely.
They use things like fractional leasing, shared operational services. It all dramatically lowers that barrier to entry. But the key is the psychological shift. The silence of that empty, stressful shop is drowned out by the hum of collaboration.
The threat of you, by yourself, going under financially is now spread out.
It's mitigated because you're under the financial and legal protection of a much larger collective structure.
But I do have to push on that metaphor a little bit.
Yeah.
If you build a harbor or a canopy, for collaboration, Where does the entrepreneur keep their own edge? Does sharing everything compromise your own IP, your unique brand?
That's a great question. And the sources do address that tension between collaboration and competition.
Yeah.
They address it by emphasizing the duality of the structure itself. They use this really strong, almost architectural language. They call the vessel part fortress, part cathedral.
Okay, part fortress, part cathedral. Let's break that down. The fortress.
The fortress is the specific protection you get, the legal and financial infrastructure that shields your individual business from all that turbulence in the market. The fortress is the walls of the safety net.
Down the cathedral.
The cathedral provides the light, the inspiration, the community. It's the space where that vulnerability, admitting to the 3 a.m. scream, can be shared safely.
And turned into collective power.
Exactly. It's a
Yeah.
place where your small spark is fed until it becomes a roaring fire that the whole world can see. It's about amplification, not just survival.
So, to build a space that is both a fortress for protection and a cathedral for community, the founders said they needed two very different kinds of leaders.
Two totally different skill sets to guide the vision. This is their dual leadership model.
Yeah.
One to heal the spirit and one to fortify the walls.
And this is where that fusion of expertise gets really compelling.
It really does. Let's start with Jennifer Wolfe. They call her the healer, the heart.
And her background immediately tells you what the core mission is about.
Yeah.
Psychological safety.
Right.
She's a licensed marriage and family therapist.
Yeah.
An MFT.
Right.
But, and this is key, she's also been a business owner herself for a long time. She gets the grit.
She does. And you might ask, what does an MFT bring to a commercial real estate venture? It seems like a weird fit.
I was just thinking that. It feels like an intentional disconnect.
But it's the intentional connection that's the whole point. An MFT is trained in systems theory, understanding how people function within complex systems, like a family. Jennifer Wolfe just applies that same systems thinking to the business environment. A small business, when it's fractured like we talked about, it operates like a dysfunctional system.
And you can't build a stable brand if the entrepreneur's own nervous system is just shattered.
You can't. So her role explicitly is to address the emotional act of doing business. She's there to create the psychological safety you need to take risks, because you can't take risks without a stable emotional platform.
So she's the connector.
She is. She makes sure that the technology, which can be so isolating, actually amplifies human connection instead of replacing it. She's building community, building mentorship, taking that raw, painful vulnerability of the 3 a.m. scream and turning it into the power of belonging.
Okay, so that's the heart. Then you have Edwin Duterte, the architect, the spine.
The hardware.
Right. If Jennifer is focusing on the emotional nervous system, Edwin is all about the concrete ground under their feet and the capital that fuels the whole machine.
He's the commercial real estate investment specialist. He focuses on high-performing assets. He understands what the sources call the brutal currents of capital, zoning, and asset management.
All the stuff that just crushes solo entrepreneurs.
All the bureaucratic and financial hurdles, yeah.
So can you give us a concrete example? What does it actually look like for him to navigate those currents for the entrepreneur?
Sure. Let's take zoning. A solo entrepreneur might spend months, thousands of dollars just trying to figure out if their retail concept is even allowed in a historic district like San Pedro.
And probably get frustrated and just quit.
Often, yes. Edwin's role is to leverage the power of the Donn Allan Experience as this larger asset that has pre-vetted zoning, established capital relationships. He turns the market's volatility, that ticking clock of finding a short-term, expensive lease, into the stability of a legacy asset.
He handles the structure so the entrepreneur can handle the spark.
That's the perfect way to put it.
This division of labor is.
Yeah.
It's really fascinating. One person on the internal health of the entrepreneur, the other on the external health of the asset. But doesn't that create conflicts?
How so?
Well, what if the architect wants aggressive growth, but the healer advises an entrepreneur to, slow down for their mental health? Where do the sources talk about that tension?
And that tension is exactly why they named the venture what they did. They knew they couldn't just manage the tension. They had to build the solution on a unified philosophy.
And that philosophy, they say, is ancestral.
It is. This is where we get to the ancestral North Star and where the name Donn Allan actually comes from. It's like the project's DNA.
Okay. So the sources point to two pioneers who guided their vision.
Yes, two people who really embodied this fusion. First, you have Dr. Donn Lee Wolfe, the healer. She was a psychotherapist who, she believed that every broken thing could be mended, that every person deserved to be whole.
And that's the foundation for Jennifer Wolf's work, the emotional repair, the therapeutic support.
The care for the business owner's spirit.
And then Dr. Ellen Wolf, the venturist. I find this career path so striking. A heart surgeon who became a venture capitalist.
The precision is just baked right into that, isn't it?
Completely.
And it connects directly to the high-stakes world of funding. I mean, capital is the ultimate life support system for a business. Dr. Allan Wolf believed that investing in someone's dream was the highest form of surgery. You're saving a professional life by funding a vision.
And that's the core of Edwin's role, the capital precision, the stability.
Exactly.
So the name, Donn Allan, woven together, it becomes this poetic promise, this vow that capital and care can live in the same house. But let's get specific. How does that promise actually translate into services for that solo entrepreneur who's working at their kitchen table right now? You mentioned they get a structure and a voice.
Right. This is where we define their proprietary terms. They promise two core things if you leave the isolation of the 3.0 AM scream. First, you get the holding company.
The structure?
That's the structure. It's a collective legal and financial mechanism. It means these small businesses suddenly get shared access to back office services, high-level legal counsel, financial strategies, things that were previously only available to, like, huge corporations.
It gives their vulnerable little businesses the stability and scale of a much bigger entity.
It transforms that market volatility into actual legacy planning.
Okay, so shared risk, shared expertise, that definitely fits the fortress idea. What about the voice? That's the media hub.
The media hub is basically an in-house agency. Remember that fear of erasure we talked about?
That the algorithm will just ignore you.
The media hub is the direct counter to that. It provides high-quality content creation, marketing strategy, media distribution. It's designed to give every business in that building a voice that is loud enough to actually be heard, to make sure the work being done inside the sanctuary is seen by the world outside.
So this synthesizes their whole leadership mandate. It's a vow to treat your business with the precision of a surgeon and the empathy of a therapist.
The precision is the financial metrics, the legal structure of the holding company.
And the empathy is the MFT-led community building and the support from the media hub.
It creates this protective bubble where the entrepreneur can heal those stress fractures in their identity while at the same time building a financially robust business.
So we've covered the heart, the pain, the unique leadership model. But as we kind of close out this deep dive, where does the vision go from here? How does this structure actually connect with the public?
The sources immediately point to the next stage, which they call the playground. We've seen the creator's heart in this deep dive, and now we move to the physical campus where the actual exchange happens.
The San Pedro local market.
A San Pedro local market. This is where the digital dream truly meets the concrete street. It replaces that lonely, isolated storefront feel we talked about at the beginning.
Right.
The entire ground floor of that historic building is being transformed into this vibrant, pulsing marketplace. It's designed for interaction, not for passive shopping. It's the embodiment of rejecting isolation.
So how does technology play into that? It seems like a contradiction, a digital heartbeat, bringing people together in a physical space.
And they cite one specific feature for that, a massive 30-foot digital wall that's the centerpiece of the whole market.
And that's not just for ads.
No, it's connective tissue. It'll be used to profile the entrepreneurs working upstairs, to get instant feedback from customers, to turn the stories of these businesses into live, engaging community content.
So it's the ultimate expression of turning that digital isolation into a real face-to-face connection.
Delivered physically through a curated market experience?
Okay.
Exactly.
We started with a silent scream of isolation, and we end with this commitment to surgical precision and therapeutic empathy.
All translated into these tangible structures like the holding company and the media hub.
It really is a full circle solution.
That leads to a final provocative thought for you to consider. Based on this very fundamental fusion of psychotherapy and capital investment, if the biggest threat to a small business is really emotional collapse and isolation, how fundamentally does the physical and financial structure of a place like the Donn Allan Experience need to shift to truly provide that psychological safety? I mean, think about it. What does it actually take for a building to genuinely heal the mind of the person working inside its walls? And is that healing the new prerequisite for sustainable economic success?
We'll let you chew on that one. How a therapist and a venture capitalist can build a fortress and a cathedral all at once. Thank you for diving deep with us today.